What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Trailer Park Live, or welcome back to the Second Street Marvel, and welcome to the morning movie chat. I hope you're all having a very good day today. It is Monday. Yeah, it's Monday the 9th, and don't forget, dude, tomorrow's already the 10th, just in case you didn't know. Now, I hope you're all having a very good day today. And if this is your very first time here, thank you all so much for being here. I do greatly appreciate it. Now, if you could please all do me a favor, go ahead and make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to, go ahead and do a man a favor and go ahead and share this video with a friend. Share it on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you may see fit, wherever you have the most connection to your friends, to get them here onto the channel and supporting not only the channel but also these live streams, so you guys get to see me flap my gums a little more about movies and things like that. And I hope you're all having a very good day today. Like I said, it's the beginning of a new work week for most people. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there as well who have jobs that, they don't normally work the Monday through Friday. I actually just happen to be lucky that I am a small business owner. I run my own business, so I kind of get to choose my own days, but those days are typically Monday through Friday as well, and maybe not quite full time, maybe just a little bit less. And that's one thing that definitely helps me be here with you guys every single morning to do these morning movie chats. And today we're going to talk about something, I don't know, a little bit different that I haven't really talked much about before. And that is Dragon Ball Z. And I'm not sure if anybody out there, watching enjoys Dragon Ball Z, but I can tell you, I've been, I wasn't the hugest like fan growing up when I was little, because I just wasn't really exposed to it. I think I probably started watching Dragon Ball Z probably around 2001, 2002 is roughly around the time when one of my good friends at the time had, and he's still a good friend. Had started exposing me to it. And welcome everybody, Just a Rican and his comics, Rod the Rican. Thank you so much for being here, man. You know what? Like, a lot of your streams, a lot of your videos and stuff have been coming across my news feed. I need to figure out what's up with that, so I can go back and watch some of your videos. And if you guys haven't ever checked out Just a Rican and his comics, you guys need to go check out his channel. Does a lot of great videos for with the comic book community, just reaching out, doing some live streams, talking about comics. Something I certainly need to do a lot more of here on my channel. And I do actually have some people that I want to get together and have some comic conversations with. Some very specific ones. I just need to reach out to those people to get them on here. But I do need to get more people like Rod the Rican here on my channel, because he is an absolutely awesome guy, very supportive of all of the people, of all the comic book content creators out there. So welcome, Rod. Thank you so much for being here. Russell Wells Benjamin, thank you once again for being here. I do appreciate you being here. He says, "Bro, you look swagged out." Yeah, man. I figured if I was going to talk about this today, we're going to go ahead and do this, right? Um, 19K Fox, welcome to the live stream. One of these days, hopefully soon we can get you on here, so we can talk more about this. And Wookiee Lives Matters, thank you so much for being here once again. Again, thank you all so much for being here. I do greatly appreciate it. And before I get into anything, once again, if you could please make sure that you hit that like button if you'd like to. And if you'd like to support the channel and the content that we make here, you can always follow the links down in the description, where you can go and leave a direct donation, or you can even become a Patreon supporter and support for as little as $1 a month, all the way up to however much you'd like to help support the channel here. Most of that money will be going to, actually all of it will be going to hopefully upping my production value here, so I can get a bigger green screen, so I could do some more things that I want to do here on the channel, as well as hopefully, maybe get me out to the movies a little more and help me widen my selection of comic books, so I can bring you even more reviews, because believe me, my comic book pull list is getting a little bit out of hand. And a little bit of extra money wouldn't necessarily hurt, because I've been thinking about, I've got to start dropping some comics from my comic book pool list. Not only just for money reasons, just because it's getting a little bit thick, and there's some titles out there that I've been pulling that are just, not maybe quite not up to what I'd like them to be. So I'm not kind of losing interest in them, but I would still like to do some of them to bring you guys reviews. But that being said, let's go ahead and get right into this. Now, in case you guys didn't see the thumbnail, I did put a nice picture in there of Justin Chatwin. And in case you guys didn't see, Dragon Ball, that Dragon Ball Evolution. God, when did that come out? Was that 2003? I think 2002, 2003, when Dragon Ball Evolution came out. And I remember even when that movie came out, I remember going to the movie theater, and I seen it. Yes, I did go see it at the movie theater. I remember thinking like, it's all right, like it's not the worst movie in the world, but you know what? It's right down there, very close to with one of the worst movies ever made, which is actually quite a shame because I think there for years. I mean, Dragon Ball Z is such a huge property that I think there's a whole lot of people out there that want to see something good coming out for a DBZ movie or a franchise, and it kind of makes me think. Where do they start? Where do we start with that? I know one of the things I think a lot of people kind of criticize about that movie, aside from, just the casting, the directing, the story, the pretty much everything about the movie, was I don't think it was a complete dumpster fire. They had some cool ideas, but a lot of times when it comes to movies, we see that these movies, like a lot of things look good on paper, but they don't translate well to screen. And I'm sure we've seen plenty of movies in the past where that's the exact case. Where like you think about it, you're like, man, I bet you on paper this concept looked really great, but it just doesn't look good once you actually get it on screen. And I think this movie was definitely a perfect example of that. Now I know one of the things that a lot of people criticized was the casting of Justin Chatwin as being as Goku, and I honestly got to say, like, because a lot of people were saying, oh, he's just a white dude, all these people are Asian and all this and that, and to that, I've always kind of argued that I for me in Dragon Ball Z, most of them don't ever really look Asian as because most of the time when they're not Super Saiyan, they actually have round eyes, and things like that. And I guess a little somewhat more American features where once they go Super Saiyan is when they kind of their eyes kind of slit down a little more, look a little more Asian and things like that. But so altogether, I didn't have any problem with the castings. It was just, what was being done at the time was pretty tragic. But it still makes me wonder, why haven't we got, and will we ever get, and if so, how soon, a Dragon Ball Z movie? And what would we want it to be about? Who would direct it? Who would be starring in it? One of the things I've always liked. Kind of, and that's part of my argument here is that it doesn't have to be all Asian actors, but there obviously has to be some Asian actors in certain different parts of this film, and and this is like one of those kind of perfect movies where they can take, we see so much these days people talking about, wanting like diversity in movies and representation and all of these kinds of things. And Dragon Ball Z and just the whole Dragon Ball franchise is actually one of those franchises where they could easily do that without ever tokenizing any characters, without ever having to rewrite anything. And the one other thing that I like about the movies, or would be kind of hard, I guess, but I think would be great to see in the movie, is the fact that they don't necessarily at all have to deviate from the source material. Now, when it comes to like a lot of these comic book movies and things like that, we see from Marvel, DC, and all of this stuff, is the fact that they're not always the best at holding true to the source material. And for one reason that I've always kind of defended the fact that they don't necessarily have to is just because when it comes to a lot of these movies, they or like a lot of the comic book movies, is in the comic books there's so many different storylines that they have, whether you want to talk about in Marvel or DC, with in particular characters. We've got alternate versions, alternate dimensions and things like that. Like in Marvel Comics, there's obviously Earth 616, which is the main continuity. There's the Ultimate Universe, and just all kinds of different ones out there. So I've always kind of been a little bit open to the fact that, yeah, okay, I'm willing to give them some leeway here in some of the stories they tell, because there's just a whole lot of different universes out there. But the one thing I definitely feel about Dragon Ball Z, and even Dragon Ball in general, is the fact that there's only one storyline. Okay, there's only one storyline when it comes to Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, all of these different properties. There's only one timeline. There's no different alternate timelines or anything like that, unless we want to get into the conversation of things like, God, what was it? The Trunks movie. God, why am I all of a sudden forgetting the name of that? But that's really the only one where there's kind of an alternate universe. And then if you get into and see from the regular series all the way into the movies, there is a little bit of crossover, a little bit of overlap, where you see some things go on in the movies that don't happen in the cartoons in the same timeline, because a lot of it's just like the timeline of it is a little bit off. And I think it's definitely something. I don't know. I don't think they leave much to be explored as far as anything like that. So I think when it comes to a Dragon Ball Z movie, I think they definitely it should be easy for somebody to do that. And I've had several different ideas of things that they could do for making some of these movies in in the future. And I'll go ahead and get into those. I want to go ahead and get back here into the live chats and see what everybody's saying here. Wookie Lives Matters says Ice Cream Man looked cool. You know what? Ice Cream Man was a really it was a good book. The one I did the review of, I thought it was really odd. It was really kind of not off-putting, but it was almost unsettling. It was almost unsettling. I actually just got through issue number 14 just this weekend. It came out last week, and I got to tell you, that series was really good. And kind of reminds me of when I was growing up as a child, seeing that TV show. Remember that show, Tales from God, was it Tales from the Dark Side? Isn't that what it was? And just kind of you remember how it had that creepy, eerie feeling at the beginning and like the intro song, and then you get into the show and it's like just like really creepy, eerie feeling stuff. That's exactly how I felt reading this book, and even the second one. And that's kind of what I would compare that book to. Very good, very great book. And I think in the art in that book was something that I think really stood out because it's not overly detailed. It's not something that's really polished or anything like that. But like it's kind of just like I don't know, it's done really well and it really helps set the tone for that book. So I really did like it. And I'll be doing issue number 14 here pretty soon. 19K Fox says, I saw it in theaters too. That movie was rough. Fox owns the movie rights. Disney just bought Fox, so who knows, man? Disney loves that money. Are you serious? Man, you know what? It makes me wonder, if Fox owns the movie rights, do they, since everything that's gone on with the company there, do they still maintain those rights? Is it one of those things where they only have them for so long? They, just like a lot of the films that where they've got to make a movie every X amount of years, otherwise they kind of give up their rights. I wonder if there's something into that. I've never really, I guess I never really thought about that when I was as I was thinking about discussing this or anything in the past, yeah, that's something I'm very curious about because if it is Disney who owns those rights now, I honestly don't know if we'll ever see the movie, if they'll release it or anything like that, because that's definitely a big one. And I honestly don't know that I would want to see them make the movie. Now I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, they obviously have control of a lot of IPs, a bunch of these different franchises that they have control of, which, I know I've talked about this before. It's not necessarily a bad thing. For one, we know that they have the money to put into the budgets for these types of films. So that's a good thing. Now, what's the bad thing is we know basically the kind of people that will be cast in these types of movies and maybe what some of the what's going to go into some of the marketing and some of the making of the movie. And like I said, like I was saying earlier, that might not necessarily be a bad thing because Dragon Ball Z is one of those ones where you don't have to worry so much about the diversity and things like that in the movie because that's kind of what the Dragon Ball world is all about. I mean, we got people from we got Namekians, we got Saiyans, we got humans, we've got just all kinds of different walks of life in these movies. And that was always the cool thing about watching Dragon Ball Z is, you're sitting there watching people walk around in these cities and all of you see just like different species of people, like people with like fox heads and all different kinds of stuff. So it's like, okay, like, this is a world where, there's people and there's just other people walking around who aren't necessarily the same race. So it should be something fairly easy for them to do any of those things they want to do. But let's please just hope that it's not Disney for the mere fact that we know what they're gonna kind of do with it as far as everything is concerned. They're gonna, they've kind of cornered the edge on the market of what I would call outrage marketing, and they do that through various ways, and whether they plan on it or not, I can't say for sure, but sometimes it does seem like that's what they do. Wookie Lives Matter says, I can't imagine how a live action would look good. All the live action versions of anime are janky. Yeah, they are, and I can't really say that I've seen a whole lot of the anime ones out there that have been made into movies. What would be a cool one is Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll would be a great one to see live action. But again, I mean, I guess we've had enough samurai movies in the past and everything. similar to that, it wouldn't be too hard to do. But that's something I think would definitely be something I would want to do. Like, if they did do a Dragon Ball Z movie, is one of the people that would be great to bring in. And I'm not even sure if this guy is still around, but he obviously helped with like the Matrix movies. Was Yin Wao Ping. Would be absolutely great because he knows what he's doing. With a lot of that cable work, a lot of the action and things like that. So that'd be cool. 19K Fox says the end fight between Superman and Zod and Man of Steel was basically a live action DBZ. Yes. Yes, and that's something I was just getting ready to get into, and kind of, I guess, kind of goes into what Wookiee Lives Matters was saying was the action. Now, I think I thought a long time ago that we were there. We're there with the technology and things like that. And as we can see, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and what they've managed to do over there, they've even pushed the envelope even farther. Because when I remember when I seen I believe it was Blade 3, when he was sitting there fighting like the vampire like things that were after all the Daywalker that was after the Daywalker. I'm pretty sure it was part 3, and it was towards that final fight scene when they were there fighting, and and they're fighting in like that big old temple. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but they're sitting there picking each other up and they're slamming each other through the pillars into the walls and all of that kinds of stuff. I was like, okay, we're there, man. This is Dragon Ball Z technology right here. This is what we need to see in a Dragon Ball Z movie. Is dudes sitting there fighting through the air. And another one was the Matrix movies. I thought the Matrix movies were very, very groundbreaking. Obviously, they were very groundbreaking in some of their special effects and just some of the things that they did on camera. And but yeah, that's one of the things I remember first seeing in that Blade movie was just some of the action as they were slamming each other through those pillars and just all of the different things that were going on there. And you got to think, God, what was Blade Trinity? Was that back in 2002, 2003, somewhere around there? It might have been. It might have been a little bit later than that. I can't remember, but I definitely seen some of those things in that movie that would definitely serve the purpose or serve the narrative of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball all together pretty well. And then like I said, we get into Matrix, and especially if you go watch. Matrix, what was it, Revolutions, the very last one, where they were sitting there fighting Agent Smith and things like that. When they were sitting there, that last fighting scene, like I was watching that, and I'm sitting there like, I remember watching that in the movie theater, thinking like, whoa, like this is what we need. This combined with what we see in Blade are the kinds of things that we need to see in the Dragon Ball Z movie. We see them flying through the air. We've seen them. Obviously, as they're fighting there, it's raining, and they clash, and all of a sudden you see like the big old like bubble of air bursting around through all the rain and different things like that. Those are the types of things that we see in the Dragon Ball Z world. And like, we've got all the technology here now for it. We've got all the talented actors. We've got everything that we need to get this movie. But will we ever see a day anytime soon where we see one of these movies? And what would it entail? I mean, what would the story exactly be about? A long time ago, I was really into all these. It was around the time where I bought all of these box sets that you can kind of see right here. I'll show you right there. I've got all the Dragon Ball Z series. I've got Dragon Ball Z, every single one of them on DVD. I actually even own the GT series, but I got to be honest with you, I haven't watched any GT, and from what I've heard, it's not anything that I should be too worried about seeing. But let me know what you guys think about that. Did you guys watch Dragon Ball GT? If so, what did you think about it? What did you think about it? I know I seen like an episode or two, and I was kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. It's not exactly my cup of tea. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't quite like the Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball stuff that I really liked. But they did recently start doing Dragon Ball Super, and I actually haven't seen any of those episodes whatsoever. And I do know that they are putting those out on DVD, and I hope they soon get them in box sets, just like they have these, so I can go out and purchase those. And the one thing that I like, you guys, I'll let you guys know right now. One thing I've watched all of these movies, all of these whole series in the English dub, and I got to tell you, nowadays I mostly watch it in Japanese. I actually like watching it in Japanese with the subtitles and things like that. For one, because you can actually see what they're saying instead of just translations. And the other thing is like I kind of feel like like I feel like those Japanese voice actors, they really help set the tone and bring a little more drama to the role. I know some people don't like it. the fact, with the Japanese original voiceover tracks, and in case you guys don't know, a lot of times it's actually women that do a lot of the voice acting in those movies. And I read at the time, and I'm not sure how true it is, that really in Japan, when it comes to these kinds of movies, that it's mostly a women industry doing these voiceover roles. Doing this voice acting for these movies. And I gotta tell you, that's I really have no problem with that. And for I think a lot of the times, people probably wouldn't notice, because especially if you don't understand Japanese and things like that, because and I think that's just kind of the linguistics and things like that, just how it comes across on screen and just in the tone. But watching these movies in Japanese is something I definitely do enjoy. And which kind of made me start wondering, like, if they did do a Dragon Ball Z movie, would it be awesome for them to see to do a movie doing just that? Like, where they, maybe they film it with, the whole, like, all in American, American dub and everything, and then they still have some different people, if not the same people, go through and do a voiceover in Japanese. I think that would be absolutely great. Um, let's see. Kamehameha. Yeah. 19K Fox says GT is weird. Yeah, and I haven't watched any of it. But maybe one of these days I need to go ahead and do a do go through and watch those and do some breakdowns on all of these things, because I'll go ahead and see what else we got to say here before I get into that. I don't really watch any of them. I just like the morning movie chat. Well, thank you, Wookie Lives Matter. I do greatly appreciate that. 19K Fox says, I've been busy. I've been buying the Blu-ray boxes of DB Super as they come out. See, and I need to get into those. And as a matter of fact, the other thing I need to get into is I actually need to go. I know at my local comic book shop they actually have the manga of Dragon Ball Z, and even Dragon Ball Super. I need to go out there and I need to go pick those up. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Akira Toriyama actually had anything to do with the Dragon Ball GT series. I could be wrong there, but I don't think that it was part of any of the original stories he wrote, or that he was really much involved in it at all. And I could be totally wrong. Correct me if I am wrong there. But and that was kind of the big deal about when they started doing Super again, was that it was actually stuff that he actually wrote and started doing. And I don't know. I could be wrong. Wookie says, I think the English dub voice actors are a small bunch. Ichigo's voice actors pops up everywhere. Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's what and that's what I was thinking too. Is like, when it comes to like the Dragon Ball series, I do know that the voice actors for the English dub. I mean, I know a lot of the guys do multiple voices of those, and I gotta tell you, the guys that do the voiceovers, they do a good job. They really do. But aside from the next thing I want to talk about is the actors in the movie. And I'm not really into fan casting. Anytime that I see a movie, I just want to see actors come in. I honestly don't care who they are, if they look the role or not. You can get a good actor can still get in there and portray a good character and bring them to life. But I always kind of thought, just though, going along with my argument of, I think that all these characters aren't necessarily all Asian. Some of them obviously are. I always thought that one of the best people to get for Goku would have been Brendan Fraser. Maybe it's just me. Let me know what you guys think about that. I always thought that Brendan Fraser could be the perfect person to play Goku in the Dragon Balls series. Just because he has that look. I mean, he's a big dude in the first place too. I think, what is he, like 6'3", 6'4", and he's got the body frame to be a big dude. All he would have to do is go out there, get one of those trainers, just like they get with all the people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and get really yoked. And in case you guys don't remember, he was in the Mummy series, which I really did like those Mummy series that he was in. But you can see through those, he was a pretty big dude. And he was even in Georgia the Jungle. You can go through and watch that movie and see that he was pretty fit. And you could see that if he put on a good 20-30 pounds of muscle, that dude would look freaking yoked. And plus, he would be towering over a lot of people, which would actually help out in one thing, as far as when it comes to casting Vegeta. And I always thought for Vegeta, I thought a great actor for him would have been Jet Li. Now, Jet Li's getting a little bit older now, but that by no means doesn't mean that he couldn't be great at playing that role. And, one of the good things that I thought did come out of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie was Chow Yun Fat as Master Roshi. I thought Chow Yun Fat would be actually even a great Master Roshi to play the Turtle Hermit in a Dragon Ball Z movie. And but yeah, I don't know. That's just me. And then I could never think of, who would we get for a Bulma? Who would be a good Bulma? I always thought Demi Moore would be a good Bulma. I mean, she's got the look, she's hot. She's just and she's obviously got talent, but obviously now she's getting to the point where she's older and probably wouldn't do the role. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm not into fan casting. These, when I was always thinking about these things. This was back in the early 2000s when everybody could have been young enough to play some of these roles still. And because once we get into the Z series, they're not necessarily kids, and they're not necessarily young. I mean, a lot of them, they probably look like they're probably in their 20s, maybe 30s, and even back in the early 2000s, they were probably still a little too old to play those roles. But I still think you still got to bring in good actors to portray these roles, and it depends on how far you want to do it. As we can see, a lot of movies these days are sold in trilogies, quadrilogies, and things like that. And I actually always had some ideas of how I thought that these movies should be done. Um, okay, now let's see. 19K Fox says, I think he did endorse the Super Saiyan 4 form, but that's about it. Okay, yeah, and I was gonna say, I think that could be it because I think Super Saiyan 4. Um, did they do that? Did they even slightly show? No, they didn't even slightly show that in the whole Z series. Because I was thinking, they did something in the Z series there towards the end, but it wasn't. It was they didn't go Super Saiyan 4. I don't believe. It's been a while since I watched this. Wookie Lives Matter says his performance is in Encino Man. Yes, yeah, and Encino Man, yeah, that was a really great one, and that's kind of why I always liked Brendan Fraser because he can be that silly slapsticky guy, like kind of like Goku is. Goku's just kind of he's a naive kid that came into our human world, and that was one of the beauties of the Dragon Ball series was seeing him grow up. But I think Brendan Fraser definitely has that childlike demeanor about him, and then he can really get in and do that whole serious thing too. And plus, the other thing I like about Brendan Fraser, aside from the size and his acting abilities, and the fact that he can do some of that kind of childlike demeanor, is he can also do that tough guy demeanor, and he has that really square jawline, that really square chin that we need for a Goku. You know what I mean? And that's something that not a lot of actors out there have, and especially not a lot of great actors with a lot of the kind of depth and range of something that I think would be required of the Dragon Ball of the Goku role. Now, I did actually always have some very some ideas for how to do this movie. Oh, okay. Let's see here. 19K Fox says Michael B. Jordan is a DBZ fan. He would make a great Piccolo. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would actually be good. That would actually be pretty cool. Michael B. Jordan would be a great Piccolo, and that's the thing is uh like because Piccolo is that guy, like he's kind of got that, we seen when he portrayed Killmonger in the MCU. He's got that kind of Piccolo's always got that kind of sinister feel about him, yet he eventually becomes a good guy throughout the series. I think really by the time we see him in the Z series, he's a good guy, but he's still kind of not the best guy. You know what I mean? And I think Michael B. Jordan probably definitely even has the chops for doing that. Wookie Lives Matter says Selena Gomez for Bulma as Bulma for the win. Yeah, I haven't really seen her in a whole lot of acting stuff to see how she is, but she kind of has that look where she should be good at that. And again, like for me, I think like when it comes to Bulma, yeah, that would be probably more of somebody who is, it could be. I was thinking maybe somebody white or Latino probably wouldn't be too bad, but for Chi Chi, she's got to be Asian. She's got to be Asian, and I think the Chi Chi they had in the original movie, in the Dragon Ball Z Evolution, it wasn't. I think the casting was almost spot on there for that. Um, but yeah, so now as far as I was saying, like with the films, I think that it would be great to see them go and do. I had these ideas that I was kicking around for the longest time when it came to and I should have wrote a lot of these ideas down. They're still in my head when it comes to making a Dragon Ball Z franchise or a Dragon Ball franchise. Now, the one thing I always thought would be cool for them to do would be to do maybe my idea was make a trilogy of the movies. And we can see that, and this is why it would be great if Disney actually one reason, probably about the only reason why it would be great if Disney did have that, is because I always thought it would be great if they were going to do a Dragon Ball movie, would be to do like maybe a 3 movie series, and then along with that, have a, because at the time they had like Sopranos and different things like that on TV. Was I was thinking to do a mini series on like a HBO or something like that, where they go through and they dive a little bit deeper into some of these characters and some of their stories and some of the different things like that. I thought it would be great to do a mini series along with the movie series that all kind of tie together, like where maybe you make the first movie of Dragon Ball, and then maybe in between the time that you are getting ready to go from part 1 to part 2, you have a little mini series where you go through and you have, it could be a little small handful of episodes. It don't have to be a lot. 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 episodes, in a nice, a really well produced mini series to launch into the second movie before doing that again to launch into the third movie. I always thought that would be really great, but at the time, and especially even today more so, I kind of think that some of it would be great because like these characters, a lot of people are really invested in, and I think that when you go in to do one of these movies, you don't have to do it Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super. You can all do it in one, just like one giant series. Now the challenging part is to show the journey that Goku has been on since he was a kid, and I think that's where some of the mini series would come in, and serve the overall purpose and narrative really well. Now, like I said, when it comes to the Dragon Ball franchise, there's, like I said, There's only one story overall. There's not different versions. There's not different realities or anything like that. And I always thought that it would be great to do it in like a Tarantino-esque kind of feel to it, in the sense where you get certain characters, but a lot of it, then you get some backstory, and then you get more stuff that's going on, and then maybe a little bit more backstory, kind of like with flashback scenes. I think one of the biggest things was like, for me, would have been, obviously what he did, Quentin Tarantino did with Pulp Fiction. How you get, some of those things, some of the different scenes that are just kind of out of line, with a certain continuity, but they all still end up tying in really well together. Now, that being said, one of my idea was like, maybe to start off, with start the movie off having it opening up with Goku and Vegeta getting ready to go at it, as they were there, as just right there in the Vegeta saga, when Vegeta comes to Earth and just basically tries to take it over, and that whole first battle end up being like the culmination of the first movie, and just doing those kinds of things, like seeing them, opening up on them, getting ready to duke it out, for the final battle, before Goku basically dies for the first time, and everything leading up to that, and then where we get the flashbacks. But I always thought it would be great, and to do it in that kind of a way, where we open upon the scene where they are there getting ready to battle, and we have Goku and his plan with Piccolo, when what was it? Piccolo was getting ready to do the special beam cannon. I'm not sure what the actual Japanese name for that is. Right before he killed Goku, and then we kind of see that, and then it flashes to Goku as a child, as a baby, and just kind of what was going on in his world as it was getting ready to come to an end. And we see, like, say we see Frieza there, all of a sudden, and he's getting ready to getting ready to blow up the world, and we see his pod just take off, shoot off from the planet Vegeta, towards the Earth. I thought that would be, just a great way to, like I said, you get the introduction where there's the big old bang, the big old battle getting ready to happen, and then all of a sudden you get the narrator's voice, last time on Dragon Ball Z. You know what I mean? And you see, and then that's when we see the pod getting ready to shoot off, and then we started getting a little bit more backstory on Goku, where he finally gets to Earth, he crash lands on Earth. Master Roshi finds him and helps, and starts training him. There's just a whole lot of these things that I think would be kind of cool because it's that Tarantino thing where you get this getting a little bit of story, then you get that little flashback to where he was growing up. Now, and that begs into question, because Dragon Ball Z seems to be the hotter franchise here. It's a little more action oriented with some story sprinkled in. But one of my personal favorites out of all of them actually happens to be Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, the whole series, that was actually the last one I got. I watched all the Dragon Ball Z series before I got into the Dragon Ball series, and I watched the Dragon Ball series. And I'm like, man, I think these stories, it's a little bit better. And obviously, this is where it all kind of took off from in the first place, because I really did like seeing those stories where Goku was a child. As you see, he gets to Earth and he don't know. He's a Saiyan. Boys, he has a tail. Bulma doesn't have a tail, and just all of those different kinds of things that kind of play into that. With going through his training and everything. And I think, if you go back and even watch like the Kill Bill, Volume 1 and Volume 2, but you can kind of see, like I said, some of those makings there where you got a story being set, and then all of a sudden we get a flashback scene where Goku's landing on Earth, and then he starts being trained by his grandpa Gohan, and then eventually how he comes across Master Roshi, and then eventually Chi-Chi and all of these kinds of things. Now that's why I say some of it would be great to have in a mini series where we can get a little bit more of those kinds of really down to earth stories. There doesn't have to be as much action or anything like that into it, which would actually build up to the action that we'd get in the second movie, and then even in the third movie by way of these series. But I don't know. That's just if you ask me. Um, let's see. Okay. 19K Fox says Florian Monten oh man, I'm really butchering that name. Montano Florian Montanu. Um, Drago's son in Creed 2 would make a good Nappa. I haven't seen Creed 2. I need to. That's one of those ones I need to see. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the first Creed. I thought it was pretty good, but like me, I want to see a Rocky movie. I want to see Rocky. But yeah, I need to watch Creed 2. Because I did think Creed 1 was pretty good. Just it's not up there in my favorite movies or anything by any means, but I'll have to check that out. For Nappa, huh? Wookiee Lives Matters says James Woods is Cell. That would be good. James Woods is getting a little bit older, but that dude's a nutcase, and I love it. James Woods cracks me up, but he's also a really great actor. And like I said, he's a little bit older now, but man, I could see that definitely back in the day. Like maybe say like in the 80s or 90s. Wookiee Lives Matter says I like this game. 19K Fox, Saiyan Saga, Frieza Saga, and Android's Cell Saga. Yes, yes. And the one thing that I would probably like to see in a movie, just because it would have to be in the miniseries, is the Great Saiyaman. That was just some absolutely hilarious stuff. It was so silly and slapsticky. The Boo Saga could be 2 movies. Yeah, and definitely it would definitely have to be, because they really drug that one out for quite a while. For quite a while it seemed like. Wookie says anything is better than a Pikachu that sounds like Deadpool. Yeah, I kind of sort of watched that we rented that the other day, and my kids watched it, and yeah, it just seems nothing against Ryan Reynolds or anything, or even the movie, but when you hear him in there being that same kind of voice, doing that same kind of thing, I mean that's what it harkens back to, is Deadpool. That's what you think the whole time, just with his line delivery and stuff throughout that movie, from what I noticed. Mortal Biggie Shack, welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. New comic day is almost here, man. What books you picking up this week? That's something I'll be doing here a little later on, is getting my Trailer Park News video shot for the day. It seems like War of the Gods Vegeta might surpass Goku when he fought Mew. I'm guessing that is. Oh man, is that from the movie? Oh man, I haven't watched that movie in a while. But oh yeah, in War of Gods. Yeah, and that was really good. Vegeta is like one of those characters out there in the DBZ world that, yeah, he's. I mean, Goku is obviously like one of my favorite. I mean, I think he's a lot of everybody's favorite, but Vegeta is the man. I love Vegeta because he's got that thing that I think a lot more people would really get and understand, because he's a flawed character in the fact that he's not necessarily a bad guy, but he is like um, he's very strong-willed, very stubborn, and he's very motivated too. And it seems like for the longest time he's motivated by hate. His hatred of Goku and things like that. But he eventually comes around to the fact that, you know what, like this guy is all right, and he's the one. Vegeta is the character, the most dynamic of all of them, really, because he goes from being this guy who is like a bad guy to being a good guy. He's really complex in that way, and I think he pulled the most tears from me out of all the series, especially in, I believe it was Vegeta's Respect. I believe that was the name of the episode, where Goku is sitting there fighting Boo, and like half the episode is Vegeta sitting there, oh, and he's like, oh man, he's like, I always knew it, Kakarot. You always were so great, and he goes off on this whole thing, just kind of remembering his past, and remembering all the times that he's fought Goku, and just all of those different types of things. I thought was really great, in him finally realizing that Goku really is the best. But Vegeta has that potential to be better. The thing is he soon realized, he's him. I think one of the biggest things is realizing that you can't just be fighting for yourself. You got to be doing it for other people, and that's really what sets Goku. I think that's really where Goku gets more of his power from, as opposed to Vegeta, is because he's not fighting just for himself. He's not fighting with all that hatred in his heart. He's fighting for the greater good of other people, and I think Vegeta really starts to realize that, as he's going along, in all his battles with Goku, and just his kind of thing with Goku, is he eventually realizes, and I think it was even in that same, it was probably in that same series that same episode where he was talking about, he always was fighting to be a stronger warrior and all those things. And then he's like, next thing I know, I find myself on Earth. I've got a wife and these kids, all these distractions, and how it kind of makes him sick, that he eventually got all here and got all mushy and all of those things. But then he just don't seem to realize that that's where he gets his power from. He gets his power. Yeah, he gets his power, from loved ones and doing things for others. You know what I mean? And I think it's definitely a lesson that he learned along the way, and that's what makes him such a great character. In the fact is learning some of those things, as he's going along through life, that helps him be a stronger warrior, because it's not all about conquering. It's not all about being the strongest, about being the best. It's about doing what you can to help others, and I think that's a lot of where Goku gets his strength from, with obviously, when he goes to get ready to do a Genki Dama and those different kinds of things like that. And it's obviously something that really plays well into the Goku character, and just realizing, just through humility and things like that. And that's why, like I said, I think Brendan Fraser would have been a great person to play that. And of course, like I said, Jet Li would have always been a great Vegeta. I don't know, but somewhere Keanu Reeves has got to fit in there too, right? I mean, because Keanu Reeves. I'm just kidding, but Keanu Reeves should I don't know, should he be in every movie? Um, um, let's see. Dragon Ball was better, more hentai. I'm not sure what you mean there. Was better, more hentai. Could you like explain that a little bit better? I'm not exactly for sure what you mean there. I'm guessing maybe you're talking about like the manga, as opposed to what came in the series. Wookie Lives Matter says, "Ugh, Bulma porn." Oh yes, okay, yeah, and that's what I was. And that's what I thought. I was thinking he was getting at. Lord Cal says, "What's up, my brother? I'm lurking, but I'm working from home, so won't be active." Salute chat. Well, thank you for being here anyway, Lord Cal. I do greatly appreciate it, man. And in case you guys haven't checked out Lord Cal's stuff, man, like you want to talk about Star Wars and the EU, this dude knows his stuff. This dude knows his stuff. And by the way, Callus, I'm gonna be expecting a review of that comic book, dude. I'm gonna be expecting a review of that. I'm sure you probably wouldn't do necessarily a review. I'm sure the way you do stuff, you'd probably there's probably something in that book that you'd probably expound upon us, and stuff that's not even covered in the comic book. But I'm sure we'll hear from you about that here pretty soon. Mortal Shack, B Shack says you saw a progression. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I haven't even seen that. Anything like that. Alpha Proto says, I just got here. What did I miss? Oh, nothing really. Just sitting here flapping my gums about Dragon Ball Z, and if will we ever see a Dragon Ball Z movie soon? A Dragon Ball franchise? Do you think we're going to see a live action one anytime soon? Sometimes it makes me think that just as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution was, that maybe a lot of studios have really kind of shied away from that because I think maybe they just don't have the person with the right ideas or anything like that to make the movie. But if, like I said, if you ask me, it's not like the comic books where there's 10 different things to draw from, 10 different versions of a character to draw from. They've only got the one main continuity when it comes to Dragon Ball, the whole Dragon Ball series itself. There's really only the one main continuity. So it'd be really hard, and that's the thing when it comes to us fans, is if they go through in the movie and do stuff that's out of like that kind of timeline, people are going to be pissed. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to directly translate any of the manga or the movies, the anime series, to the screen. It doesn't have to be that. It can deviate from that a little bit, but it still has to be that same story. The story itself still has to be the same, which is the story of Goku growing up as a kid, coming to Earth, being trained in battle, just being trained by his grandpa Gohan, and then obviously later being trained by the Turtle Hermit, meeting his wife, and having the family and all of those kinds of things. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to follow that exact template, but it can't really deviate from that because there is no other versions of these characters. It's exactly what it is, and that's kind of something that I like about it. And even that being said, seeing a translation from cartoon and manga into a movie isn't necessarily a bad thing because I've talked a lot about when it comes to the Marvel movies, like I don't mind seeing some of the stuff that's a little bit different because like say like with Infinity War and things like that, if it would have been just basically the Infinity Gauntlet translated directly to screen, would we really want to see it? I mean, would it be that great? Because we'd know what to expect, and that's the thing, is we'd know what to expect out of the movie. So I don't know, and plus I think it probably brings a little bit of expectations to the movie as well. But all in all, I mean, I think that for the most part they have to stick to exactly what happened, but they can show it in new and exciting ways, and that could get hard too because a lot of things that happen in the comic books as well as the manga, compared to and the anime, compared to getting that directly translated on screen, would be something that would be hard to do. But there's definitely the technology out there to do that, especially when they comes to the fighting scenes and everything. Some of the world destruction and stuff that happens, I think, would absolutely be great to see on screen. Alpha Proto says Vegeta was a bad guy. He killed entire civilizations. Yes, exactly. A family settled him down. Exactly, and that's one of the things that I really like about his character, is that he is that person. He's that bad person, and that goes ahead and makes that turn to being a good guy. But it was the road to get there, is what is really a great part of the story. And that might be some of the part of the story where we get some of the people out there saying like, oh, you're glorifying these bad guys and all that. Kind of like people were talking about the Joker movie, like, oh, there's no hero in this movie. Well, I mean, we don't know that yet. For one, we haven't seen the movie, but two, Vegeta he's a perfect example of that. Somebody that can go out there and make a change for the better. Now, not all people are capable of change, and that's the thing, is because it takes that growth arc, and realizing things, and the family settling him down is exactly what kind of what that took. Like really what softened him up for all of that. And it was a lot of something that he, I don't know, is humility. You know, and different things like that. So I think he's definitely a character that should be explored on screen. Because he's just more dynamic than Goku is in that way. Goku just came into the world just like a naive kid. Um, so I think that would yeah, I think Vegeta's story would be absolutely great, and it almost makes me wonder. I mean, would maybe it would be best served. The story might be best served at first by focusing on Vegeta as opposed to Goku, so we can get more of his arc, as far as it's concerned, because you know They are Saiyans, and they come from, the planet Vegeta, and his father was the ruler of that planet, and those kinds of things. And that would actually, that might actually even be a better way, to launch off the series, and kick it off, is exploring more of that character, and maybe it being a little bit more about him. That would probably be good. 19K Foxes, I feel you, man. That's where your real strength comes from. Yeah, definitely, definitely. For yeah, the family and help, wanting to help others and things like that. Like we can, if you go out and set out on something, and you have, like selfish goals and things like that, it doesn't serve you as well as if you're wanting to, serve, to use whatever you want to do to help serve others, or bring, attention to certain other things. Definitely. Moral Boogie Shack says, "Yeah, Bulma made him stronger." Yeah, it really does. Because I mean, if you're just going out there, you're a renegade. You really have nothing to. Uh, oh, my mic is sounding buzzy. Oh, that could be maybe my phone was there too close to it. Okay. Hopefully that, helps that out a little. Um, hopefully that was it. Cause yeah, I know that my phone, it gets that little the cross signals of, the cell signal or whatnot. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and move that. But yeah, that's, definitely having, something to care about. So you gotta care about something more than yourself. Definitely. 19K Fox says Keanu Reeves would play a perfect Cell. He could play a perfect Cell. Yeah, he would be. Russell Wilson says hentai is porn. Yeah, and I figured that. Yeah, that it's, the, like, yeah, the more Japanese version of porn. And throughout the whole Z series, like, that. I mean, while that's because it's not really out of the scope, because, Master Roshi, he's a pervert. He's a pervert, which, kind of makes me wonder. I was thinking about doing. I wanted to go through and rewatch some of the, Dragon Ball series, and then even just through Dragon Ball Z. I wanted to do, a video about, is is Master Roshi a chomo? You know, is he really pushing the envelope? Is he, like, is he somebody that could be accepted as a good guy through by larger crowds, if he was portrayed the same way he was in the manga and in the movies, in the anime series? Just kind of makes me wonder, because, he's definitely one of those kind of characters. Like, he's an older character, and he's always looking at the ladies. You know what I mean? He definitely has much love for the ladies, and it seems like, like when he first even like, first met Bulma when she was a kid, he was kind of, always had his thing for her too, and she was definitely a kid in those times. I'm aggressively relaxing says, I want to see a naive 6-year-old wreck a whole army because they are being mean. Just 2 hours of unstoppable wholesomeness. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Alpha Proto says Dragon Ball is a property. As a property, is getting even bigger. Goku had a balloon in the Macy's parade. Goku is an ambassador to the 2020 Olympics. Are you serious? Is that true? Man, so that's crazy. And, having a balloon in the Macy's Day Parade, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. It also kind of brings up too, like, we all kind of feel that way when it comes to our all nerdy little things. We all hold them so close, and like, oh, I'm so nerdy about this, and then it becomes like something big and mainstream, and you're kind of like, oh man, like, it's like they're selling out. You know what I mean? Like, like, I remember, like, growing up, like liking bands. You know what I mean? Like, Limp Bizkit was a band I got into before they even had an album out. They didn't even have a full length album out. Like, I got this, cassette single that I had of theirs, from, it was just like it was like a little EP that had 3 songs on it, that, like, it was from when nobody even knew who they were, is when they first went on tour with Korn. DJ Lethal isn't even on the damn tape. Um, I think he may have been a producer or something on it, but he wasn't on there. And then, it starts to get bigger and blow up, and then next thing you know, they're doing it all for the nookie, and everybody's all into it. And I'm just like, man, like, oh, this was my baby. This was something I loved, and now it's all big, and like everybody's into it, and like I still love it, but it's like, dang it. Um, so, and I guess that's just how us nerds kind of get when it comes to those kinds of things. Alpha Proto says this is the perfect time to capitalize on all the exposure. It's been years since Evolution, so a new generation of fans are here, to sell a movie to. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And like I was saying earlier, now they've got all the technology and everything to actually make that happen. So we can get all the great things, in a cinematic universe, for these movies. to bring him to the big screen, and it definitely is the time to strike. But again, it comes down to, who's gonna write the movie, who's gonna produce the movie, who's, is it gonna be with people who love it, and I know one of the things that, a lot of people might think out there is like, are they gonna bring in our American voice actors to dub these things, because I know a lot of people will be disappointed to not see Vegeta out there, with that same Vegeta voice, or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it is the perfect time to capitalize on it. Like I said, we've got all the things out there to make it happen. The technology is there. I think, there's we got great storytellers. We got, great actors out there in the world that could definitely help bring that movie to life. Per Mine says, "Yo, that hoodie." Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, you like that? I've got another one too. I've got another Dragon Ball Z shirt like this too. It's all just different shades of blue, which is really cool. A lot of people always ask me where I got these things. I actually had one guy offer to buy this shirt right off my back, where somebody was like, "Dude, you gotta sell that to me." And I think my mom just picked these up at J.C. Penney's back in the day. But yeah, definitely some cool things. Definitely allowed. I get a lot of stares when I wear this thing out in public. That's for sure. And I think it's just because all the bright colors and everything. Plus, maybe it's a bit big on me. I don't know. It's kind of like a parachute, but that's all good. Um, Vegeta character development is crazy. Yeah, he is. I mean, he's one of the more complex characters there is out there, and everything that he does. Because I mean, he literally goes from being like sinister, like straight up sinister, like straight up bad guy, about as bad as they come, to being one of the ultimate good guys in the world. And now maybe not as good of a guy as Goku is, but that's what's so great about that flawed character. His flawed nature. In that series, and that's why I'm really drawn to him. He's not my, like I said, I think Goku is definitely my favorite character, but Vegeta, and I think it's because, like, here's how I always kind of looked at it, because me and my dad were. I'm more like Vegeta, where I kind of would, but like I'm definitely a flawed character. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, always a little driven a little bit more by maybe selfish impulse. Um, but yeah, definitely. Love Vegeta's character. Alpha Proto, I agree. It's a great time to be a Dragon Ball fan. Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I need to get into that the Super series. I need to go out and buy some of those. Wookie says all the weebs screaming into their webcams trying to go saying killed DBZ for me. Oh, you know what? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any of that. But that's funny. Um, Alpha Proto says Dragon Ball was a pretty raunchy comedy that would be closer to that movie Good Boys with martial arts. I haven't seen Good Boys, but I want to get out to see that movie. Maybe I'll see if I can get out to see that tomorrow on Discount Tuesday. But yeah, Dragon Ball was definitely pretty raunchy, and I think that's, and that's why it might be hard for them to do something like that, because like for me, if we're going to see Dragon Ball and especially Master Roshi on screen, that's some of the things that we need to see, because that's part of who those characters are. Master Roshi, always lusting after women, especially young ladies. His peachy girls. He loves them. He loves them. And I always thought that was funny. You see him, with the nosebleeds and all that stuff that they do in the movie. Just absolutely great stuff. Russell Wells Benjamin says, "Oof, read my name before saying hentai. Hentai was porn way after the whole combo took place. Took me, took me. Yeah, no." I knew what you meant when it brought up. He says, "Oh no, Roshi is a registered offender, right? Yeah, oh yeah, he's definitely an offender, man." Alpha Proto says, liking anime used to be really underground when I was a kid, and it was too. It was. He says I would tape trade VHS with my friends at school. Now it's easy to see. You don't have to pay $45 for 3 episodes anymore. I know, right? Like I remember when some of the DVDs, and I have some of like the series DVDs when they were coming out. Like you get like 4 to 5 episodes on a DVD, and it was like freaking 20, like $15-20 for the DVD. And I'm like, come on, man. And that's when they started doing these series, I absolutely loved it. Especially what I liked about when they started doing these series was that they put the Japanese version on there, the Japanese audio, also along with the American audio on there. And for me, for one, the Dragon Ball intro, like everybody likes the guitar intro and everything, the American intro. I always liked the Japanese song better, the Chala song. Love that song. Absolutely best song on any of their intros. And the Dragon Ball one is a little bit different. It cracks me up. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember, man, it was expensive getting those damn DVDs, man. It was crazy expensive, and I like I said, I had a handful of them, and I was gonna give them to one of my friends, and I'm like, man, like these things cost me so much money, man. These things are worth some money. And then they came out and they did that. What was that? They went through and they redone all the episodes and they cut a lot of the stuff out. The abridged version. What did they call that? That Dragon Ball, was it Dragon Ball Kai? I think that's what they started doing, and I think I watched one of the episodes, and some of it, a lot of it was fluff. But I do also realize that I think through the Dragon Ball Kai series, they cut out some of the fluff as well, from just some of the filler stuff that they had throughout the Dragon Ball Z series as it originally came out. Pertmine says Goku versus Frieza live action will be epic. Oh yeah, totally, totally. I think that it would be absolutely great to see that, especially like I said, do a first movie and have that all on there. Have pretty much the first movie kind of all telling, like, obviously the Vegeta saga. When he first, what was that, the Saiyan saga, when he first, Vegeta first came to the Earth, seeking out Goku and exactly why the hell he didn't get here and fulfill his mission. I think that would be really good, but there's just it seems like there's so much ground to cover, from the beginning of the series until we get there. You know what I mean? So in some ways I understand why they haven't done a movie yet, because it would take a lot of writing and finagling things in there to get the right story, to bring it to the screen, because there's a whole lot that you have to cover, and that's why I always thought that, like, a 3, maybe 4 movie arc would be great, and then have a mini series that ties right into that. And like 19K Fox was saying earlier, if Disney does own that, they'd be the ones to do it, because they're the ones that have started doing, they've got the game changer with the Disney Plus series, where they got the movies crossing over into the TV series, crossing back over into the movies, which is something I think would definitely be beneficial to a property like Dragon Ball Z. Definitely. Wookiee Lives Matter says everything I liked and was ridiculed for as a child is all mainstream now. I know, isn't it? And and that's something, I kind of like that. You know what I mean? But also at the same time, for people like us, if you're here, for people like us, while it's so great we get to see all this stuff, it's kind of like it's kind of like you're saying. It's like we were the outcasts back then, and now all of a sudden we're cool. Now all of a sudden you want to be cool like us. Like I remember you. You used to make fun of me because I like this stuff, and now all of a sudden you you like it. Like it's cool to like it now. Like I remember, back when I was growing up too. Um, it was a lot of things, really, because I grew up in a time where, I guess that's probably why Limp Bizkit is one of my favorite bands in the world, because I grew up, a metalhead, but I also loved rap too, and then all of a sudden, things started coming around, like when I was growing up, like going through middle school and stuff. It wasn't cool to like metal music, and it was, I don't think Motley Crue was necessarily ever metal. They were hard rock, if anything. Like all of a sudden it became cool, for, like, I was surprised there was like this one kid, in my grades, or in my middle school, that I went to middle school with. Like everybody else was all talking about, and I loved NWA too, and Snoop Dogg and all that stuff at the same time. But like, no, like, it wasn't cool to like metal music. And like, I found out this other kid I went to school with, he loved Motley Crue too. And I was like, oh cool, like, hey, I've got a friend, I got somebody else that I know that likes metal music, man. That's freaking sweet. And it's the same kind of thing now. Like all of a sudden, like, it's cool. Like geek culture, is at an all time high right now. And while that can be good, it can be bad at times too. It can't. So I totally get that. Pert Mind says that dude that played Joffrey in Game of Thrones would be a perfect Frieza. Just put him in a mocap suit. I'm not, I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I'm not sure who that is. I would have to know the actor's name. Um, but Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with the Dragon Ball, doing a Dragon Ball Z movie nowadays, or just a Dragon Ball Z series, is because they like the mocap and all that stuff has gotten a lot better for doing these types of films. Um, certainly, things have gotten a lot better there. Now, I actually, speaking of which, it actually kind of made me, bringing that up with the mocap suits. I actually just got out to see Spider-Man Far From Home again this past Sunday, or on Saturday. I took my kids to see it because my daughters hadn't seen it, and we went there, and it was that extended cut version. And believe me, I didn't want to go to watch that extended cut because I didn't want to, just like the whole thing. Like, I don't want to give money to these studios and let them think that we want more of this bullshit on the screens where where you could have just put that extra footage in the movie in the first place. I honestly didn't really. There's a couple of scenes I noticed where they added in, but I must have. My son had to go to the restroom, so I must have missed one of the scenes that they added in for that home Spider-Man Far From Home movie because I'm like I didn't really notice a whole lot. But speaking of the mocap suit, there's one particular scene, and this stood out the first time I watched it, the second time, and even this third time I watched it is the scene when they're there. When they're there at Feast, doing the fundraiser, when Peter Parker walks backstage and he's in his Iron Spider suit, the CG there, it's so choppy. Like you can tell he's wearing a mocap suit. It was like like that whole scene where he comes backstage and he's there with Aunt May and Happy Hogan. It was really choppy. Like that. Like I think that's probably some of the worst CG I've seen out of Marvel Studios in a long time. It looked really bad. Like almost like you could see the overlay of his body as it was kind of moving. It just did not flow well, and it didn't look that great. I was like, and even this third time I seen it, I'm like, man, that CG, it's not gonna stand the test of time. It's not gonna stand the test of time. Just through that whole little part right there. Um, good casting, yeah. And like I said, I'll have to go look that up and see who that is that played in Game of Thrones to see what you're talking about. Um, yeah, the Cha La. That's a great song. Alpha Pro says, "Have you seen any of the old Korean and Thai Dragon Ball movies?" I haven't. I haven't seen any of those. I do know that they exist. I've seen and heard about them. I think those are probably on YouTube as well. But I do know what you're talking about because I've seen a couple of them out there. There on the interwebs. And I've actually got a friend who knows some people who went and did like some fan movies as well of the Dragon Ball Z stuff too. And again, like it's cool people doing that, but again, I think a lot of it's going to take Hollywood to really make those things really stand out and look really great. But of course, because they've got the big budgets when they go to do those kinds of things. Pert Minda says you got to watch some of the new animes that is out like Attack on Titan. Vinland Saga and My Hero Academia, and I do. Admittedly, I do. And I'm not really big in to anime or anything like that, but I'll definitely take your word for that because I've heard about these things as well, like the Attack on Titan and My Hero Academia. I've heard those were really good. Russell Wells Benjamin says Kai also cut out the blood. Yeah, and see, and that's one I remember a while back, and I was going to start collecting the series, and I'm not sure how far they gotten it. They actually started doing a bloody version of the Dragon Ball Z series where it had more of the blood and things like that in it as well. They were more like supposed to be like higher rated, so that they could show more of that blood. Alpha Proto says just a little blood. The U.S. broadcast was heavily edited. Yeah, it was too. It was. Um, Definitely. Wookie says, I'm a metalhead and I had to hide the fact that I liked Motley Crue in junior high because they were glam rock and I would have gotten my ass kicked. Yeah. Yeah, right? And that's true. Like I said, when I was going through high school middle school was back in the early 90s, it wasn't cool to like metal music or let alone rock, you know what I mean? And like you said, Motley Crue is exactly one of my I mean they were always my favorite band growing up, and I didn't, kids my age, they weren't into that stuff, it was all about NWA, and just like the hip hop was really starting to explode onto the scene, and then all of a sudden the cool thing to like was grunge. Okay, remember? Yeah, you all remember Nirvana came out. Yeah, I don't like grunge. I'm just not into grunge. The whole movement wasn't really into it at the time, Like I remember hearing those songs. I liked it. It was okay, I'm not against it, but like to me, like Nirvana, they're, I don't put them on that pedestal that everybody else does. They're all right. You want to ask me about good grunge bands, any of those good Seattle bands? I mean, there's Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. That's it for the most part, and that's not saying the rest of them sucked or anything, but that's really where the good music was at, was with those ones. But anyway, that's all I've got for this edition of the morning movie chat. Just kind of, I don't know, just kind of talking about something a little bit different. This Dragon Ball Z series, I would definitely like to see something come about this really soon. Now, I'm sure there's probably somebody out there kicking around ideas. Maybe they're trying to get something into production. It would be great to see that, but again, I think it's going to come down to, who are they going to get to do this? What studio is in charge of it? And who's going to be writing it? Like what do you guys think about that? Hopefully here pretty soon I can get a guest here on the show to talk a little bit more about this, and just spitball and kick around a little more ideas about what we would want to see and expect out of a Dragon Ball Z movie. But definitely, let me know down in the comments below. Let me know, who would you like to see come in and play some of these parts? What studios would you like to see produce this? Or if there's somebody who actually has control of it, like I believe 19K Fox earlier was saying that Disney actually owns the rights to those. And again, I'm not for sure, because we haven't had a property in so long, a movie in so long. I mean, has it fallen out of anybody's hands or anything like that? I honestly don't know. But again, thank you all so much for tuning into the morning movie chat. Like I said, if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe. Click the little bell so you get notifications anytime I've uploaded new content. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're at it, make sure that you share it with a friend and invite them to come hang out with us here on the 2nd Street Marvel. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next video. Later. Once again, I would like to thank you all so much for tuning into the 2nd Street Marvel. You guys are absolutely awesome. I appreciate each and every single one of you being here every day when I do these morning movie chats. Just the fact that people show up to hear me flap my gums about being a freaking nerd. I absolutely love you all. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Later.